The phantom fleet, the silence of space, was broken only by the soft hum of the hegemony patrol ship's engines. Commander Zekthal adjusted his sensory apparatus, the crystalline formations along his skull glowing faintly as he processed the data. Streaming across his console, for 2 centuries, the Galactic Federation had kept watch over the third planet of this unremarkable yellow star, Earth, home to the humans. The bipedal mammals had been classified as Level 3 civilization, barely capable of interstellar travel, certainly no threat to the established order. Their ships were crude, their weapons primitive, their expansion limited to a handful of colonies within their own solar system. The Federation had deemed them worthy of observation, but not intervention. A curiosity, nothing more. Commander. His sensor operator clicked in the rapid-fire dialect of the hegemony, detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations in Sector 7 Alpha, approximately 2.3 astronomical units from the primary star. Zekthal's mandibles clicked in irritation. The asteroid belt surrounding Earth's system was dense with mining operations and debris. Human industrial facilities constantly created sensor ghosts and false readings. Probably another human mining platform. Log it and move on. Sir, the readings are inconsistent with known human technology. The gravitational signature suggests something massive, but visual scans show nothing but empty space. The commander's sensory stalks twitched. In his 40 cycles of service, he'd learned to trust his subordinates' instincts. Set course for the anomaly. Standard approach. Passive sensors only. As their vessel glided through the asteroid field, Zekthal studied the tactical display. The gravitational readings were indeed strange. Something with the mass of a small moon was generating the disturbance, but their most advanced sensors detected nothing but cosmic dust and scattered rock. Commander, you need to see this. The sensor operator's voice carried a note of something Zekthal had rarely heard from his species. Fear. The main display flickered, and suddenly space itself seemed to fold. What had appeared to be empty void rippled like water, revealing something that should not have existed. A massive structure, easily 10 kilometers in length, hung in the darkness. But this was no crude human mining station. The installation was a marvel of engineering that defied everything the Federation knew about human capabilities. Sleek, angular surfaces reflected starlight like black mirrors. Docking bays large enough to house capital ships dotted its hull, and everywhere the quiet bustle of construction. Dozens of vessels moved in perfect coordination, welding, assembling, building something that made Zekthal's blood run cold. By the void, he whispered, they're building a fleet. At the center of the massive shipyard, emerging from the construction framework like a creature being born, was a vessel that challenged every assumption about human technology. The ship was enormous, dwarfing even the largest Federation dreadnoughts. Its hull was smooth, almost organic in appearance, with weapon ports that suggested firepower beyond anything humans were supposed to possess. Sir, we're being scanned. The tactical officer reported. Multiple target locks. They know we're here. Zekthal's training kicked in. Transmit standard Federation identification codes. Request communication with the facility commander. The response came not through their communications array, but through their main display. The image that appeared showed a human, female, middle-aged by their standards, wearing a uniform that bore no resemblance to any Earth military organization on record. Her eyes were hard, filled with a determination that reminded Zekthal uncomfortably of the ancient warrior races, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, she said, her voice carrying across the void with crystal clarity. You are trespassing in human space. State your business or withdraw immediately. Earth Defense Force. Zekthol's translator struggled with the unfamiliar designation. I am Commander Zekthol of the Galactic Federation Hegemony. This system is under Federation oversight. You have no authority to the Federation's authority over Earth ended. The moment you classified us as a non-threat, Chen interrupted. We've been watching you watch us for 200 years. Building, preparing, learning. The massive ship at the center of the construction facility was moving now, separating from the assembly framework with impossible grace. As it turned to face the Hegemony patrol vessel, its true size became apparent. The Supercarrier was not just larger than Federation dreadnoughts, it was larger than most space stations. Impossible, Zekthor breathed. Your technology level, your industrial capacity. The Federation's assessments were based on what we allowed you to see, Chen said. Did you really think a species that went from first flight to moon landing in 60 years would remain stagnant for 2 centuries? While you watched our official colonies, we built in the shadows. While you monitored our registered ships, we developed technologies you couldn't imagine. The Supercarrier's weapon ports were opening now, revealing arrays of devices that looked nothing like conventional armaments. Energy readings spiked across the Hegemony ship's sensors, climbing to levels that should have been impossible for human technology to generate. You're planning to attack Federation worlds, Zekthol accused. This is an act of war. Captain Chen's expression didn't change. We're planning to survive. The Federation has kept humanity in a cage for 2 centuries, limiting our expansion, controlling our development. But we've learned something important during our imprisonment. We've learned that the only way to ensure our species' survival is to be too dangerous to eliminate. The Supercarrier finished its turn, and Zekthol realized with growing horror that it was not alone. Throughout the asteroid field, space began to shimmer and fold. One by one, ships appeared where none had been before. Cruisers, destroyers, support vessels, an entire fleet materializing from nothingness. Stealth technology, his tactical officer whispered. They've been building an entire fleet under active camouflage. Our sensors never detected any of this. Captain Chen, Zekthol said, fighting to keep his voice steady. The Federation will not tolerate this threat. If you reveal yourselves, now there will be consequences. There will be consequences regardless, Chen replied. The question is whether they'll be on our terms or yours. The Supercarrier's hull began to glow with an inner light, energy patterns racing along its surface like neural pathways. Whatever power source the humans had developed, it was beyond anything in the Federation's arsenal. Sir, the sensor operator called out, massive energy build-up. Unknown type, off the scale of our instruments. Weapons, Zekthol demanded. I don't know. The patterns don't match any known weapon system. It's like, ... like they're bending space itself. Captain Ch. Image flickered on the display. Commander Zekthol, you will return to Federation space. You will tell your superiors that humanity sends its regards. And you will tell them that the next time Federation ships enter our system without permission, we will consider it an act of war. This is madness, Zekthol protested. The Federation has hundreds of worlds, thousands of ships. You're one planet with a secret fleet. You cannot possibly watch us, Chen said simply. The Supercarrier and its escort fleet began to move. Not toward any known human colony, but toward the edge of the solar system. As they accelerated, something extraordinary happened. The space around them began to distort, reality bending like heated metal. The ships didn't just move, they seemed to slide through dimensions, their forms becoming ghostly, translucent. They're phasing out of normal space, the sensor operator reported in amazement. The gravitational signatures are fading, but the mass is still there. It's like they're existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Within moments, the entire fleet had vanished, leaving only empty space and the hidden shipyard. But even as Zechthal watched, the construction facility began to fade as well, its stealth systems reasserting themselves until once again there was nothing but asteroids and cosmic dust. "Commander," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a data burst from the facility. It's the complete technical specifications for their stealth technology, along with a message." The message was brief, but it changed everything. The Federation watched us for 2 centuries, believing us to be primitive. In that time, we studied every Federation ship that passed through our space. We learned your weaknesses, your blind spots, your fears. We know more about your technology than you do. We know more about your politics than your own leaders. And now, we're free. The cage is open. Humanity has other plans. As the Hegemony patrol ship turned toward Federation space, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization, Zechthal couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. The humans had been underestimated, classified as a minor species of no consequence, but they had used that dismissal as camouflage, building their strength in secret, while the galaxy ignored them. The question that haunted him as they jumped to hyperspace was simple. If they could hide an entire fleet, what else were they capable of? And more importantly, what did they plan to do with their newfound freedom? Behind them, in the depths of the asteroid field, the hidden shipyard continued its work. More ships took shape in the darkness, and deep in the facility's command center. Captain Sarah Chen smiled as she watched the Federation patrol ship disappear into hyperspace. The message had been delivered. The cage was open, and humanity's real journey into the stars was just beginning. Asterisk. The hunt and the revelation. The emergency session of the Federation Council convened within hours of Commander Zechthal's report. Representatives from 47 worlds gathered in the Great Chamber on Centralis Prime, their various forms of agitation filling the air with clicks, whistles, and harmonics that would have been cacophonous to human ears. Admiral Vextar of the Hegemony Fleet stood before the assembled delegates, his crystalline form catching the chamber's light as he delivered his report. The humans have violated the surveillance accords. They've constructed a military facility and fleet of unknown capability, while under Federation observation, this basic represents a clear and present danger to galactic stability. The Zeridian delegate, a creature resembling a giant mantis, clicked its mandibles in skepticism. One hidden facility does not constitute a fleet capable of challenging Federation authority. The humans have perhaps a dozen worlds and limited resources. Even with advanced stealth technology, they lack the industrial capacity to pose a serious threat. That's what we thought about their technological capacity, Vextar replied grimly. Intelligence suggests their capabilities have been systematically underestimated. The vessel we observed was beyond anything in their official records. Moreover, their stealth technology is completely unknown to our scientists. The Calothi representative, a massive slug-like being with multiple sensory organs, pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, immediate deployment of the Third Fleet, Vexter said without hesitation. We need to locate and neutralize this threat before it can spread. The humans have clearly been planning this for decades, possibly centuries. Every moment we delay gives them more time to prepare. The Council voted within the hour. The largest Federation fleet ever assembled would be dispatched to Earth's system with orders to locate and destroy the human stealth fleet. The Third Fleet consisted of over 200 ships, including four dreadnoughts and the flagship Eternal Dominion, a massive vessel that had never been defeated in battle. What the Federation didn't know was that every word of their emergency session had been monitored by human intelligence operatives who had been embedded in Federation society for over 50 years. By the time the Third Fleet began its journey toward Earth, Captain Sarah Chen already knew they were coming. Deep in the asteroid field, the hidden shipyard had vanished completely, its stealth systems so advanced that even knowing its location wouldn't help Federation sensors find it. But the EDS Defiant and its escort fleet were nowhere to be found. They had simply disappeared, as if they had never existed at all. The Third Fleet arrived at Earth's system in full battle formation, expecting to find the human fleet hiding among the asteroids. Instead, they found nothing but the normal traffic of human civilian vessels and the standard orbital installations that had been monitored for 2 centuries. "Sir," the tactical officer aboard the Eternal Dominion reported, "no sign of the stealth fleet. All scans negative for unusual gravitational signatures or energy readings." Admiral Vextar studied the tactical display, his frustration growing. "Begin a systematic search of the entire system. They're here somewhere. Ships that size can't simply vanish." For 3 days, the Third Fleet combed every asteroid, every moon, every possible hiding place. They found nothing. It was as if the human fleet had been a hallucination, a ghost story told by a frightened patrol commander. On the 4th day, everything changed. The first sign of trouble came from the fleet's outer sensor pickets. Ships began reporting system failures, navigation errors, and mysterious power fluctuations. Within hours, 2 destroyers had suffered complete engine failures and were drifting helplessly in space. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from ... everywhere. Every ship in the fleet is picking up the same signal." The main display flickered, and Captain Sarah Chun's face appeared, but she was no longer aboard the hidden shipyard. Behind her, the bridge of the EDS Defiant stretched away into the distance, its alien architecture both beautiful and intimidating. "Admiral Vextar," she said, her voice carrying easily across the void. "Welcome to Earth system. I trust you've enjoyed your stay so far." "Where are you?" Vextar demanded. "Show yourself and surrender immediately, or we will fire on every human installation in this system." Chun's expression didn't change. "I'm right here, Admiral. We all are. The question is whether you're capable of seeing us." The Defiant materialized off the starboard bow of the Eternal Dominion, so close that collision alarms began screaming across the bridge. The massive Supercarrier hadn't been there a moment before, but now it hung in space like a predator sizing up its prey. "Impossible," Vexter breathed. "Our sensors showed nothing." "Asterisk, your sensors show what we allow them to show," Chen replied. "Did you think we spent 2 centuries just building ships? We've been studying your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. We know your sensor frequencies, your targeting systems, your communication protocols. We know them better than you do." Around the Federation fleet, space began to shimmer and fold. One by one, human ships appeared where none had been before. Not just the escort vessels from the asteroid field, but dozens of others. Cruisers, destroyers, support ships, an entire fleet that had been hiding in plain sight. Phase drive technology, Chen explained, almost conversationally. We don't just move through space, Admiral. We move through the spaces between spaces. We can exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, visible when we choose to be, invisible when we don't. Your sensors can't track what doesn't exist in your reality. The Federation fleet found itself surrounded by human vessels that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Targeting systems couldn't lock onto ships that phased between dimensions. Weapons that fired at where sensors said the targets were struck. Empty space as the human vessels shifted through dimensional barriers. This is your final warning, Vexstar transmitted to the human fleet. Surrender now, or we will open fire. With what? Chen asked. Your weapons can't hit targets that exist in multiple dimensions. Your shields can't stop attacks that come from directions you can't perceive. Your communications can't coordinate a response when we're listening to every transmission you make. To prove her point, the Defiance weapon arrays came online. But instead of the familiar energy weapons the Federation expected, something entirely different happened. Space itself seemed to bend around the human ships, reality warping as they prepared to fire. What you're seeing is the result of 2 centuries of human ingenuity, Chen continued. While you watched our official colonies, we built in secret. While you monitored our registered ships, we developed technologies that would make your scientists weep. We learned to bend space, to fold time, to exist in the spaces between realities. We became something you never expected. The first human attack was unlike anything in Federation records. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, the Defiant fired something that could only be described as controlled reality distortion. Space twisted around 3 Federation destroyers, and they simply ... ceased. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but removed from existence, as if they had never been there at all. We became dangerous, Chen said simply. Panic spread through the Federation fleet as more ships fell victim to weapons that bypassed every known defense. The Eternal Dominion's shields were useless against attacks that came from multiple dimensions simultaneously. Its armor was meaningless against weapons that targeted the fundamental structure of matter itself. Admiral Chen's voice carried across the communications channel. Your fleet is impressive. 200 ships, representing the combined military might of 47 worlds. But you're fighting yesterday's war with yesterday's technology. We're fighting tomorrow's war with tomorrow's weapons. What do you want? Vexstar demanded, watching his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy he couldn't even properly target. We want to be left alone, Chen replied. For 2 centuries, the Federation has kept humanity in a cage, limiting our expansion, controlling our development, treating us like children who needed supervision. But we've outgrown the cage, Admiral. We've become something new. The Defiant moved closer to the Eternal Dominion, its massive bulk dwarfing even the Federation flagship. We're not seeking conquest, Admiral. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy. We just want the freedom to explore, to grow, to become whatever we're capable of becoming. But if the Federation insists on treating us as a threat, we'll become one. The Council will never accept this, Vexstar said. The Council will accept whatever we tell them to accept, Chen replied. Because the alternative is watching their fleets disappear one by one until they realize that some cages are meant to be broken. The surviving Federation ships began to withdraw, their formation broken and their confidence shattered. As they retreated toward the edge of the system, the human fleet simply vanished, phasing back into whatever dimensional space they called home. Admiral Chun's voice followed them as they fled. Tell your council that humanity sends its regards, and tell them that the next time Federation ships enter our space without permission, we won't be so polite. The Third Fleet limped back to Federation space, carrying news that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer the primitive species they had once been. They had become something else entirely, something that could challenge the Federation's dominance, not through brute force, but through technologies that made conventional warfare obsolete. In the depths of space, the EDS Defiant and its escort fleet continued their patrol of Earth's system, invisible guardians of a species that had finally broken free from the cage that had confined them for 2 centuries. They were no longer just human. They were something new, something unprecedented in galactic history. They were the future, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the stars through the massive viewport. Behind her, the crew went about their duties with quiet efficiency, monitoring sensors that could perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously, maintaining weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics, and preparing for a future that would be entirely of humanity's making. The cage was open. The bird had flown, and the universe was about to learn what happened when you underestimated a species that had spent 2 centuries preparing for freedom. The message had been delivered. The demonstration was complete, and humanity's real journey into the stars was just beginning.